Welcome to Bless Them Boys, a podcast that couldn't smooth a silk sheet if we had a hot date with a babe. I lost my train of thought. We also a podcast that finds tinsel distracting. I am one Saints fan, one fan of Who Dat, who is here to give weekly takes, game recaps, bad betting picks, game previews, and quite a few Seinfeld references. This week, since Brandon is not with me, I'm just doing a patron saint of the week, and this patron saint is one with whom I once had a lot of problems with, and now you're going to hear about him. And that is cornerback Fred Thomas. Fred Thomas originally played college football for Northwest Mississippi Community College during the 1992-1993 seasons. He would then transfer to Ole Miss, and then transfer once more to the University of Tennessee at Martin, and then finally again transferred to Mississippi Valley State. He would be drafted in the 1996 draft, 47th overall, second round, by the Seattle Seahawks. He would play for the Seahawks from 96 to 99. Before the 2000 season, he would sign with the Saints. He played for them until 2007. Finished his Saints career with 13 interceptions and 5 sacks. His best seasons were in 2002 and 2003. In those seasons, he would have, in 2002, he had 1 sack, 5 interceptions, 14 passes defended, and 91 tackles. In 2003, he had 1 sack, 4 interceptions, 22 passes defended, and 85 tackles. Now, my problem with Mr. Thomas was in the 2006 season, which was Drew Brees and Sean Payton's first seasons with New Orleans. Basically, every time the Saints played a team and there was a big passing play given up or a big pass interference call, 9 times out of 10, it was Fred Thomas, to the point where I'd be watching games with my friends and I would say, and something would happen, there'd be a flag, there'd be a big play. I would say, let me guess, Fred Thomas. And sure enough, it was Fred Thomas who was the perpetrator of said grievance, I guess, if you, to use that term. So anyway, so shout out to Fred Thomas. I am Paul, the Saints fan. Brandon, the Cowboys fan, is at Media Day, aka his parents' house. So it's just me this week. But let's get Izzy in here to tell us what time it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's go time. Let's see you lift that.
Mr. Mandelbaum, please.
It's go time.
This one's for you, Pop. It's go time.
It's go time.
You've been married 3 times.
That's it! It's go time!
It's go time.
All right. So, as I mentioned, Brandon is not with me this week. We've got a little bit of a different show. I'm going to do as normal of a show as I can. And then our special attraction this week is we are going to be watching along Seinfeld Season 9, Episode 10, the Strike episode, otherwise known as the Festivus episode. So hopefully you can all stick around for that. But first, a little housekeeping. You can contact us, blessthemboys@gmail.com. We're on Twitter at bless_them_boys. I'm at Paul Elliott _316. Brandon is at Ball from Grace. We are on Blue Sky. We never check it, but we're there in spirit at least. If you're checking us out right now on YouTube live, welcome. Thank you. While you're here, go ahead and hit that like button. That like button, that subscribe button. You can check us out also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating and review. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell the bots. All right, we're going to get to the football here in a minute, but we at Bless Them Boys do pride ourselves on being able to discuss other things.
But enough about fish. I can discuss other things,
Okay, so not a big segment this week. Like I said, we are going to do the watch along here at the end. But I did want to, I figured I would take this opportunity with Brandon not here. Um, excuse me, to go through my top 10 list of movies for the year for 2025. I was actually proud of myself. I actually did see quite a few movies from this year. So I'm going to go ahead and give you that top 10 list. Let me just pull it up here real quick. I just threw this together earlier. So let me pull it up. All right. So first off, so I'll go 10 to 1 here in a minute, but I do want to give a couple of honorable mentions. Couple of recent or a recent watch, I guess a couple of recent watches. Wake Up Dead Man, the new Knives Out mystery. Really enjoyed that one. Also Frankenstein, the Guillermo del Toro interpretation of Frankenstein. Enjoyed that. Also Blue Moon, Richard Linklater's kind of a biopic. Oh, Brandon's in the chat. Hey, Brandon. Said he finally started Pluribus 5 episodes in. He actually, Brandon, you might be ahead of me actually because I've fallen behind. I plan to catch up here at some point. I think the finale's this week, so I think I'll just catch up once the finale airs. So yeah, I mentioned Blue Moon, which was Richard Linklater's homage to. Oh gosh, why can't I now remember his name? Lawrence Hart of used to be writing partners with Richard Rogers. Okay, and then finally, Black Bag, which was a movie from earlier in the year, a Steven Soderbergh film starring Michael Fassbender and Kate Blanchett, kind of a spy type movie. I really recommend that one. If you didn't check that one out, I would recommend it. All right, let me do my top 10 here. We'll start at number 10. Just give me a sec here. By the way, while I'm pulling this up, I have this top 10 list also on Letterboxd. So if you are on Letterboxd, send me a follow. I'm at Paul Elliott 0316. Actually, Paul Elliott 0316. So I would love if you are on Letterboxd. If you're not on Letterboxd, it is free to join. There are some paid subscription that allows you a couple more features if you want to do that as well. But all right, so 10 to 1. Let me start at number 10. A recent watch for me, Companion. I talked about this one a couple weeks ago. This is Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid's movie. They play a seemingly innocent-looking couple that go away together for a weekend, and things go sideways. Let's just say. So I'll leave it at that. Number 9, The Phoenician Scheme. This is one of my more look forward to movies this year. This is Wes Anderson's latest film, starring Benicio del Toro. Quite a good year for Benicio del Toro. This movie was very good. Michael Cera also in it. First chance Michael Cera had to star in a Wes Anderson film. So again, highly recommend this one. Number 8, Eddington. This is Ari Aster's latest film, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal. I think my review on Letterboxd was something along the lines of, man, 2020 really was that kind of year. This is set in Arizona, I believe, or New Mexico, in a town where Joaquin Phoenix is the sheriff, Pedro Pascal is the mayor. And it's in like April or May of 2020 when restrictions and all that were a hot topic, excuse me. So, yeah, very, very, very good. Number 7, The Long Walk. Again, this is a more recent watch for me. This is the Stephen King adaptation, starring Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson, about a group of 50 men or 50 young men, I should say, that go on a long walk. So basically, you have to keep walking at a pace of 3 miles an hour. If you don't, there are consequences. So I'll just put it at that. Mark Hamill, also Luke Skywalker himself in this as a very hard-nosed general, we'll say. So I definitely recommend that one. Number 6, Weapons. This was the Zach Krieger's follow-up movie to Barbarian from 2022. Weapons is basically, I'm sure you've seen the trailers if you've watched anything over the last year or so. But basically, a classroom full of kids at 2:17 in the morning all disappear, and the teacher Julia Gardner uh, kind of comes under fire for that. Josh Brolin is in this. Josh Brolin also was in Wake Up Dead Man that I mentioned earlier. So again, would highly recommend this one as well. The most recent watch for me is my number 5, and that is F1. I just watched F1 today, actually. So on Apple TV now. I really wish I had seen this one in the theater, but it was still very good to see. I watched it on my iPad. This is the Brad Pitt Formula One movie, and outstanding. I mean, it was just really, really outstanding. Brad Pitt plays an aging F1, or I don't even F1. He's a race car driver that's called to action by. He has a favor called in on him from Javier Bardem. They obviously have a relationship from the past. Bardem is now the owner of a Formula One team, and he's kind of bringing Brad Pitt in to uh, bring along his hotshot young driver, who I apologize, I can't remember the young man's name who plays the driver, but very, very good in this. I would highly recommend this again. It's on Apple TV. So if you're watching Apple TV, you're catching up with Ted Lasso or Pluribus, like Brandon did. It's there in the movie section. But I would definitely recommend trying to watch it on your either an iPad or your TV. I'd say on the phone, it probably wouldn't uh, do much there. So, but that highly, highly recommend it. So that's my number 5, F1. Number 4, 28 years later. Recently rewatched this. I watched it twice this year on Netflix. This is obviously the follow up to 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later. Uh, Tremendous performances in this. Very emotional film. Jodie Comer, very good. Aaron Taylor Johnson. Uh, I can't remember. Apologies, I can't remember the young kid's name who's in this movie, but very good. Ray Fiennes shows up towards the end. Very good. Sets up the Bone Temple, which is coming early in 2026. I do plan to try to check that one out. I'm going to try to check that one out in theaters if I can swing that. And then my top 3. Number 3 for me is Train Dreams. This is a Netflix original that was released within the last month or so, late in the year. Stars Joel Edgerton as a logger in Oregon, and it's just kind of one of these, you know, life in life of a person, kind of in the vein of a Forrest Gump. But I mean, I would highly recommend this one. Uh, if you if you if you like those kind of movies. Also, again, I would also recommend. I did watch this one on my phone. Probably would play a little better if you watch it on a TV or iPad even. And then my top 2, I went back and forth on these. I went number 2. I went with Sinners, the Michael B. Jordan, the vampire movie that was the talk of all movies early in the year. Came out in March. It just got re-released, I believe, around Halloween time. It may have got re-released again now that I think about it. But if you haven't seen Sinners, please, by all means, check this out. It's kind of getting snubbed from the quote unquote experts in their top 10 movies, but it's in mine. It's number 2, and again, it's probably a 1A 1B type thing. My number 1 is One Battle After Another. I still need to rewatch this. It's now on HBO Max. If you have HBO Max, I would highly recommend you check this one out. Paul Thomas Anderson's movie. Leonardo DiCaprio, phenomenal. Sean Penn, phenomenal. And again, Benicio del Toro, phenomenal. Chase Infinity is kind of the breakout star of this movie. She just got nominated for a Golden Globe for her performance in this movie. Cannot recommend this movie enough. It is on HBO Max. It is on my list to do a rewatch here soon. I'm going to try to knock that out. So that's my top 10. If you agree, disagree, let us know. But and I know I missed some other stuff. There are some movies on my list. I know Die My Love, which is the Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Pattinson movie that just came out, or it was been in theaters. It just became available on streaming. I do plan to check that out at some point because I know Jennifer Lawrence is getting quite a bit of buzz for her performance in that movie. There's a couple others. Mastermind with Josh O'Connor, who was in Wake Up Dead Man. Still need to check that out. I actually still need to check out Superman, Fantastic Four. Still need to check these movies out. Big There's a big release. I need to talk to Brandon about this because Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is coming out in July 2026. So I'm probably going to do a rewatch of all of Nolan's films in preparation excuse me, for that. So that's my top 10. We're going to move on here. Let me get situated here. All right, let's move on to college football, got our bowl challenge going. It was a slow start for me in the bowl challenge, but I've picked up a little bit of ground. So as we stand right now, I am on my screen here. I've got Southern Miss and who are they playing? Is it Arkansas State? Or no, Western Kentucky. Excuse me. Southern Miss and Western Kentucky. They're in the New Orleans Bowl. Last I checked, it was tied at 13. In the third quarter. For the right now, Andy, our friend Andy, the Bears fan, leading at 8-5. I actually am at 5-8. I'm actually tied for second with MJ Mans. Brandon says, I don't think I even watched 10 movies this year. Well, Brandon, by the way, in our college bowls are 4-9, so he's only a game behind. And I do believe Brandon has I think he has Western Kentucky in this one. I have Southern Miss in this one. Like this is playing right now. Our friend Donnie, the Broncos fan, tough beat for him. 3-10 so far, so he's looking to pick up the pieces, as it were. All right, let's go to our NFL picks here. Oh, I will mention. We talked about this last week, but when Brandon's back next week, we will be doing our picks for the semifinals of the college football playoff. I don't know if we'll pick the final next week too. Probably wait, see if we can wait till the following week once we know what that game's going to be. But we'll figure that out. All right, NFL, our preseason picks. So I don't have Brandon's unless he wants to put them in the chat here. But for me, I was 7-9 for the week 16, 137 and 103 for the season. I have 3 teams picked accurately as of this point. Titans, Steelers, and Eagles. That's quite an eclectic mix of teams, but it is what it is. For our ESPN Pick'ems against the spread, I actually had a pretty good week. I was 9-7, 100 and 140 for the season. Brandon was a game better than me, 10-6 for the week, 116 and 124 for the season. Andy, our friend Andy, the Bears fan, 3 games above 500 for the season. Good for you, Andy. He was 10-6 for the week. It looks like and then game behind him is Donnie at 120 and 119. So both of them over 500. And then Brandon and then myself follow in the spread picks. And the confidence picks for the week, I was 10-6, 88 points, 138 and 101, 1,207 points for the season. Brandon at 11-5, 105 points for the week. 154 and 85, 1,368 for the season. And that actually leads the group. He is overtaken Andy. Andy's in second place. I'm in third place. And then our 2, I think Donnie's one of these. And then we had I think this is the one where Matty Reflus has decided not to play anymore. Well, he also decided not to coach defense anymore, apparently. It is, if you watch the Cowboys. But all right, win totals. So we've got 8 new teams that have settled their win totals for the year. The Jets under 5.5, the Steelers over 8.5, Dolphins under 8.5, Cowboys under 8.5, Bears over 8.5, Bucks under 9.5, Texans over 9.5, and finally the Chargers over 10.5. So far, 15-9. I'm in the lead. I'm only a game above my friend Brandon at 14-10. Andy, the Bears fan, in last place, but he's still even Steven, 12-12 so far. And then finally for our skins game, our win-loss game, if you will, I'm at 150 points. Brandon is at 140. So only 2 weeks left, boys and girls, on the season. All right, so like I said, this episode's a little different. So I'm just going to do a quick recap of week 16, and I'm just going to do this in kind of playoff hierarchical order. You'll see what I mean, hopefully. So I'm going to start in the NFC. So currently, as we sit today on December 23rd, the number one seed in the NFC is our good friend Trang's Seattle Seahawks by way of their victory on Thursday night. Brought to you by Will Herring, Seahawks 38, Rams 37, and what was probably the game of the season, at least the Thursday night game of the season for sure. Seahawks rallied to defeat the Rams. They clinched a playoff spot with that win, and now kind of put themselves in the driver's seat for that number one seed in the NFC. The Rams, they're not out of it all the way, but they will need some help from either the Panthers or the 49ers. 49ers, we should mention, are lurking. We'll talk about them a little more in a minute. So, by virtue of their loss, the Rams are now down to the 6th seed. And if the playoffs started today, they would be facing the current number 3 seed and the 2025 season NFC East champions. Apologies to my friend Brandon. Philadelphia Eagles, who on Saturday, presented by Dick Fram, Eagles 29, Commanders 18. So the Eagles clinched the NFC East with that win. They're probably going to end up at the 3 seed. There is a possibility for them to fall out of the 3 seed. I'll talk about that here in a second. But for now, the Eagles win the NFC East. They are the 3 seed. The other game on Saturday that actually helped place, for the moment, our current 2 seed in the NFC, and that is the Chicago Bears. Again, shout out to our friend Andy, the Bears fan. Steve McMichael presented Bears 22, Packers 16. Another pretty good game, a good rally for the Bears coming back. So they clinched this playoff spot by virtue of this win. And then also the Lions loss on Sunday, the late Sunday window. That one was brought to you by Dick Nardi, Steelers 29, Lions 24. Controversial ending to that game. The Lions get a touchdown late. It looks like they're going to get this miraculous Jared Goff touchdown with no time left, but it was offensive pass interference called against Amon-Ra St. Brown. Game was over, so Steelers escaped Detroit with a win. And that loss by the Lions clinched a playoff spot for the Bears. So right now, if the playoffs started today, the Bears would be your 2 seed, and the 7th seed would be the team they just beat, which is the Green Bay Packers. So we would have a rematch there of Packers at Bears. Now, in terms of the NFC, let me just pause for a minute here. The 7th seed most likely will either be the Packers or the Lions. There are some other permutations that could happen, but for the most part, it'll probably be one of those 2 teams. The Lions are going to need some help. The Packers, I mean, both of those teams really have issues right now, I would say, speaking of the Lions and the Packers. But the Packers, obviously, Jordan Love injured, Malik Willis, or concussed, I should say. Malik Willis comes in. He's got a shoulder injury, it looks like. So his status for their game this week against Baltimore, which we'll talk about in a little bit, maybe up in the air. So that's the Packers side of this. Let's flip to the NFC South. It was Tommy Barnhart presenting Panthers 23, Bucks 20. So with this win, the Panthers, it was kind of a back and forth game. Bryce Young made plays when he had to. And Panthers now have the have possession, I should say, of first place in the NFC South, and they have the 4 seed. There is a scenario. I kind of spoke to this earlier. We're talking about the Eagles. If the Panthers can beat the Seahawks and the Bucks those last 2 weeks, and the Eagles lose their last 2 games, the Panthers could be the 3 seed in the NFC. Believe it or not. Now, obviously, that's a lot. That's got to happen, but that is a possibility. So, but for right now, Panthers are the 4 seed. Bucks on the outside looking in. At this point, for the Bucks, it's win the NFC South or don't make the playoffs, and that can be wrapped up as soon as this week, depending on the results of this week, which we'll go through all the clinching scenarios for Week 17 here in a minute. Now, the team that the Panthers would face if the playoffs started today, the 5 seed, currently is the San Francisco 49ers, who on Monday night, brought to you by Richard Dent, beat the Colts 48-27. Valiant effort by the Colts and Phillip Rivers. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. But for the 49ers, they now have an outside chance because of that Seahawks win over the Rams. 49ers have an outside chance of winning the NFC West. They have to win their last 2 games against the Bears this week. They have the Seahawks week 18. They win those 2 games. I think they would need, let me see here. They might need some help from the Rams. Well, no. I mean, they're ahead of the Rams now, so I guess they'd stay ahead of the Rams. So 49ers win out. They have a chance to get that NFC, get the NFC West and maybe even the 1 seed. Uh, so that's the NFC playoffs picture at the moment. Let's go to the AFC. Excuse me. Current 1 seed is Donnie's Denver Broncos. However, they are coming off a loss. Julius Thomas presented Jaguars 34, Broncos 20. The Broncos would not have clinched the AFC West anyway because they needed a Chargers loss, which unfortunately for Brandon did not happen because the Chargers 34, Cowboys 17, brought to you by Patrick Creighton. Um, so with this loss by the Broncos, let's talk about the AFC West for a second. The Chargers are now kind of in the driver's seat, actually. If the Chargers defeat the Texans this week and then beat the Broncos week 18, Chargers will win the AFC West. So if you're the Broncos, you need to be rooting for the Texans this week, or you just need to beat the Chargers coming up in week 18. So that week 18 game might be my candidate for Sunday night, the last game of the regular season. Right now, as it stands, the Chargers would be the 5 seed, and they would be going. They would be going to the 4 seed, who is right now the Pittsburgh Steelers. We talked about their victory over the Lions. For Pittsburgh, it's pretty simple. You beat Cleveland this week, and you are the AFC North champion. And look, I mean, we've talked about this all season. Just give me 1 second, folks. We've talked about this all season, but Steelers just keep on winning or keep on having winning seasons under Mike Tomlin. Rodgers is doing just enough for what he needs to do. They obviously have the DK Metcalf suspension now because of the incident with the fan in Detroit. So they'll have to navigate that. But if they win, let me just pull that up real quick. Yep. So Pittsburgh just has to win one of their remaining 2 games, or they just need Baltimore to lose one of their remaining 2 games. Now, these 2 teams do play each other week 18, so I will point that out. The only chance for Baltimore at this point, which I guess we'll use this to segue into their game Sunday night, brought to you by Ben Coates, Patriots 28, Ravens 24. The only chance the Ravens have now, they have to win out, and Pittsburgh has to lose out. So basically, Baltimore beats Green Bay this week, beats the Steelers week 18. in concert with a Steelers loss to Cleveland this week. So, which not out of the realm of possibility, but um, you know, not unlikely. Now, the other side of that game Sunday night, the Patriots, 28-24, as I said, they clinched a playoff spot. So the Patriots are now in the playoffs for sure. They have not clinched the AFC East as of yet. They are currently sitting at the 2 seed. They can possibly get to the 1 seed, but they would need some help. They would need a little bit of help there. So, we here at the show, obviously, we are big fans of the Drake and what he's been doing. But, it's interesting. These Patriots team keeps passing these tests. We'll see what happens once the playoffs start. Currently, if the playoffs start today, they would be visited by the Houston Texans, who, we've been Brandon and I think, have been pretty complimentary of the Texans over the last couple of weeks, and then they go out this past week and barely beat the Raiders 23-21. That was brought to you by Matt Schaub. Just kind of a weird game, just kind of a classic, like almost like the Texans from last season, where the offense is kind of sputtered. It's kind of, doing just enough. I know Genty had a big game for the Raiders, but listen, this Texans, if they're playing at their capable level, they're a dangerous team, and I think the Patriots would be not ecstatic to see the Texans coming into Foxborough for that 2-7 matchup. There is still a chance for the Texans to win the AFC South. They would have to win out. Jags would have to lose out, I believe. Let me see here. So the next win for the Texans will clinch a playoff spot and also eliminate the Colts, which we talked a little bit about them with the Monday night game. Phillip Rivers, a valiant effort from him. I mean, it's really something to see this guy still out there slinging it. I mean, he's really impressive. I know he's not going to win comeback player of the year, and I'm not advocating that he should, but just to see him come off the couch after 5 years at 44, 45 years old, it's quite impressive against two pretty good defenses to start out. He had to play Seattle, and he had to play San Francisco this past week. So, and both of those teams, by the way, needed wins. It wasn't like they were, just resting up for the playoffs. So, but yeah, I think the Texans are okay. I'm interested to see this game against the Chargers this week in LA will be a good litmus test for them. Want to see where they're at. Okay, so let me see here. So that was the 2-7 matchup. Let me see where else we are. Talked about the Jags beating the Broncos. The Jags are in the driver's seat. Like I said, they're not in the driver's seat. They would need a little help, but there's a possibility the Jags get the 1 seed, which, I mean, listen, I think Liam Cohen, we've talked about Coach of the Year a little bit on the show, but Liam Cohen maybe wrapped it up. Trevor Lawrence had probably his best game as a pro this past week against Denver. And that's not we'll read Donnie's dispatch here in a little bit, but I mean, my takeaway was just came really impressed with Trevor Lawrence's performance. Right now, like I said, the Jaguars would be the 3 seed. The 6 seed would be the Buffalo Bills, who, by virtue of their win over the Cleveland Browns, which was brought to you by Billy Cundiff. That was Bills 23, Browns 20. So the combination of that win and the Indianapolis loss clinched a spot for the Bills. I should also mention that Indianapolis loss also clinched playoff spots for the Jaguars and for the Chargers. The other thing, too, with the Jaguars you want to keep in mind when it comes to tiebreakers, the Jaguars have victories over the Broncos now and the Chargers. So if they get into tiebreakers with them, they would win those tiebreakers. I did a little simulation on the ESPN playoff machine earlier, where if the Jaguars, Patriots, Chargers, and Broncos all end up with 13 wins, which is possible, I don't know how likely it is, but it's possible. In that scenario, the Jaguars get the 1 seed. I don't know all the tie-breaking rules and all that, but that was what came out of the wash when I did the playoff simulator earlier. Yes, as Brandon mentions in the chat, our Jaguar. Well, I won't know about our. I'll give Brandon the credit on this one. He was all on it in the preseason. He was. I was still holding on to my Texans stock. He was all on the Jaguars, so shout out to him for seeing that. I just didn't. I didn't honestly. I didn't trust Trevor Lawrence. So that was my thing. Which, we'll see what happens in the playoffs once we get to that point. But yeah, so that's the playoff teams. Let me circle back and get to some of the non-playoff teams. I guess I'll start with my team, the Saints. I got to tell you, man, really like what I'm seeing from the Saints. They win this week 29-6 over the Jets, brought to you by Quinn Early. Shout out to our friends over at this podcast making me thirsty. Chris, one of the co-hosts there, is a Jets fan. The Saints, Tyler Shuck again looked impressive. Don't know. I'm not as huge a fan of him throwing the ball over 40 times, but running game. I mean, the running backs right now are Audric Estime and Evan Hull, and Taysom Hill, basically. So I think Shuck is doing very well in the offense, running it, getting comfortable with it. Kellen Moore's play calling has gotten better as the season's gone. His coaching's gotten a little better. For the Jets, what I will say is their defense played pretty well. I thought in the game. It's not obviously these are not two juggernaut teams. I totally get that, but I thought it was a competitive game in the first half. Saints pulled away in the second half. Olave had a big game. Jawan Johnson with a good game. I thought, like I said, Shuck played really well. An emotional game for yes, not to be underestimated, as my friend Brandon says in the chat. Emotional game for Taysom Hill and Cameron Jordan, possibly their last games as Saints in the Superdome. This is the last home game of the season. Saints have 2 road games to close out the season. Cam Jordan, I owe Cameron Jordan an apology. I was on the 32 Fans podcast to preview the season with Alex and Akiva, and we were talking about this was before Tyrann Mathieu announced his retirement, I believe. And they were talking about, they gave me 3 names on the Saints, and they wanted me to kind of handicap their Hall of Fame chances. Tyrann Mathieu was one, Demario Davis was the other, and Cam Jordan was one. And when I got to Cam Jordan, I said, I feel like he could get in. I feel like he's an accumulator. He's gotten a lot of stats, but he's now to the point this season, like he's in the same class of guys like Ricky Jackson, Lawrence Taylor, in terms of where he's sitting in like the sacks record. I think he needs 2 more sacks to tie Lawrence Taylor all time. When you start getting in that pantheon, yeah, then you probably deserve some consideration for the Hall of Fame. I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Don't get me wrong. I would say at this point that that's not the case, but I do think he gets in at some point. Taysom Hill, meanwhile, became the first player in the Super Bowl era to cross 1,000 yards receiving, rushing, and passing as in a career, which is quite a feat. I did read something that he is technically not eligible for the Hall of Fame. To be eligible for the Hall of Fame, you have to have made one postseason award. Like you had to make a Pro Bowl, you had to be voted All Pro or something like that. So, I mean, I think he could still get in by like a Veterans Committee or something like that. But listen, he's a Saints Hall of Famer for sure. I hope that they put him up in when his playing days are done, they put his name up in the Ring of Honor for sure. So, but I would say this, for the outlook for the Saints looks good. Their 2025 draft class, everybody's a contributor. Kelvin Banks, Tyler Shuck, Jonas Sanker had an interception this game. Devin Neal was contributing. He's injured right now, but he was looking pretty good. Danny Stutzman is coming on as a linebacker. He probably needs to be on the field more, honestly, at this point. But yeah, just the big thing with the Saints is going to be, in my opinion, is what do they do in the offseason? How do they rebuild the roster? I don't want them to go crazy. Again, they don't need to go back to let's trade up, let's trade draft capital, let's do all this. Make sensible moves, keep cleaning out your books, get that clean. At least you have a quarterback now for 2026 who's on a rookie deal, and he's a second, and he's a round two quarterback, so it's not a even a crazy rookie deal. Although I do think he was the first guaranteed money for a rookie quarterback drafted in the second round. So, but I think Shuck has at least proven himself to be your 2026 quarterback. I am interested to see what happens this offseason. The other thing I'll mention, and I'll lead this into another game on Sunday that we haven't talked about yet, which is Falcons 26, Cardinals 19. This one brought to you by Cannonball Butler. The reason I bring up this is the Falcons and Saints play each other week 18. Coming up in week 17, Saints play the Titans, Falcons play the Rams on Monday night. Let's say both of those games go as expected, which is to say Saints beat the Titans, Falcons lose to the Rams. Then week 18, Saints at Falcons. The winner of that game will finish third place in the NFC South. And the reason that could be important is because that determines so for the Saints, from the Saints' perspective, they have three opponents for next year that have not been determined, which is they will play a team from the NFC West, and a team from the AFC West, and a team from the NFC East. If the Saints finish fourth place in the South, that would mean they would play the Raiders from the AFC West, the Cardinals from the NFC West, and the Giants from the NFC East. If they end up moving up to third place, that AFC West opponent goes from the Raiders to the Chiefs, which, obviously the Chiefs have some issues right now. But still, it's still the Chiefs. And then the NFC West goes from the Cardinals to either the 49ers, the Rams, or the Seahawks. So that's obviously a step up in weight class, I would say. And then the NFC East opponent would go from Giants to Commanders. So, be interested. Just something for the Saints to look forward to. And also, if they win these last two games, they would end the season on a 5-game winning streak. If you told me the Saints were going to have a 5-game winning streak at some point this season, I would have asked you what drugs you were on. But that notwithstanding. And then the Cardinals, just to speak on them, it just seems like Gannon's. I think I did read something that Gannon's not going to be replaced, or maybe I don't remember. Or no, I'm thinking of the Dolphins. The Dolphins. Well, let's jump to the Dolphins real quick. Dolphins lost to the Bengals. The Bengals 45, Dolphins 21. This one brought to you by Scott Mitchell. So it came out I think it was on Sunday, that Mike McDaniel should be back for the Dolphins, but Tua will not. So Brandon kind of alluded to this, I think, last week or the week before we were talking about this. Tua was technically not Mike McDaniel's guy, but they did just pay Tua. So it's going to be interesting. Now, look, the Broncos obviously set the market for this, where they just cut Russell Wilson, ate all that dead money, and figured out a way to handle it. So we'll see what happens with Tua, with the Dolphins and Tua, but that'll be interesting. For the Bengals, they're just playing, the Burrow thing. That's going to be another interesting scenario. Looks like Zach Taylor will be back for Cincinnati, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not, honestly. Let's see. If I'm missing any games, one more here. Actually, two more. Well, maybe at least two more. Dick Pessinen presents Vikings 16, Giants 13. Vikings actually have a chance to be spoiler here. They play the Packers. They play the Lions this week on Christmas, and they play the Packers week 18. So, and if they win both of those games, they'll finish 9-8, which is quite a feat if you think about it. Now, JJ McCarthy's injured again. Max Brosmer looks like he's going to get another start this week. For the Giants, again, another interesting team. What they're going to do at coach, I haven't heard. I know Marcus Freeman is a name I keep hearing, the Notre Dame head coach. But we'll see. And then lastly here, Dick Frey presents Titans 26, Chiefs 9. If I had told you at the beginning of the season the Titans were going to beat the Chiefs in week 16, again, you might have asked for what drugs was I on, but obviously the Chiefs have fallen on hard times here. For the Titans, the name that I keep hearing for their head coach is Matt Nagy, ironically, who is the offensive coordinator currently for the Chiefs. I floated that option to Andy, the Bears fan, and he said, "Good luck," but basically. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I think that's all the games. I'm going to step away for a quick second, folks. I'm just going to go take a quick restroom break, and I will be right back. All right. Sorry about that, folks. I'm back here. Yeah. Brandon mentioned his upset pick. I forgot to go over that let me go over that real quick for from our picks here. Well, actually, I'll go over that when we do our upset and our locks here at the end. But I do want to very quickly. I mentioned Donnie. We actually had an email from Donnie last week, and I completely forgot to read it on the show. So my apologies, Donnie. We're gonna right that wrong here. Just let me pull it up. Let's see. Yep. So we got a couple of emails from Donnie here to look at. We'll start with his email from last week, which some of this may be obviously old news, but we owe it to Donnie. Donnie's been a loyal supporter. His email starts. This is his week 14 dispatch. Well, actually, I guess wouldn't this be week 5? Whatever. It was this dispatch from last week. Says it is a Black Monday in Kansas City. This is obviously coming off the heels of the Chiefs losing, Mahomes tearing his ACL, all that stuff. There are children in town who have never experienced this version of the Chiefs. This is the version that has been around nearly my whole life. A bumbling franchise that should be better than it is. You don't root for injuries, but you could see this Mahomes injury coming. The guy has been running for his life all season. Yesterday, he was getting absolutely hammered on some of these sacks. I watched America's team, quote unquote, and you really see how these dynasties fall apart. Guys get old, especially when you play in so many high leverage games. Really puts a lot of stress on the body. You can see this year the injury luck will run out. One example, Trey Smith, who was a stud at University of Tennessee, absolute dominant guard who should have been a first round, early second round pick, but with several injury red flags at the combine, falls in the sixth round to KC. Comes in, starts day one, was an anchor on the line, never missed a game until this year. He was constantly injured, and the line was really bad without him. Well, can't mourn forever. So that's kind of Donnie's way of saying that's a shame. Big win for the Broncos. This was probably Bo's best game. So this is coming off of their win against the Packers, I believe. He was lucky on a couple of poor throws late, Bo Nix, that is. But for the most part, he was accurate, made good decisions. Defense took a few haymakers, but were able to close this out. Sean, again, has some curious end of game / time management decisions. Rather than kick a field goal to push the lead to 11, he chose to go for a fourth and short, gave Green Bay a short field with a little over a minute left. I hope this does not continue in the playoffs. Denver now sits in the driver's seat for the 1 seed in the AFC. Well, obviously, that was before the Jaguars game. And then he goes on to say we have home Jags at a depleted and defeated Chiefs and home for Chargers the last week. AFC is pretty much set as far as the teams, just a question of where they land. Miami could make things interesting if they beat Pittsburgh tonight on Monday Night Football, which they did. But now let's move ahead here. Let's go to Donnie's Week 16 dispatch. And let me, all due respect to Donnie, I'm going to let Mr. Costanza tell us what, well, maybe he will. Let me see here. This is what thinks.
Well, it sucks.
So that's how Donnie starts his email. The Broncos, even the Super Bowl years, have had ugly losses in January. The 2015 Broncos lost at home to the Raiders and got their ass beat by the Steelers, only to avenge the Steelers' loss in the playoffs on their way to winning Super Bowl 50. Hoping a similar outcome happens here. They have been flirting with disaster for a few weeks now, and it may be a positive to kind of reset and focus in. Donkeys still control their own destiny. 2 winnable games remain. Decimated Chiefs team, Chargers team with a suspect offensive line. Take care of business, and you have as good a chance as anyone to get to the Super Bowl. I agree with that. I want to take some time to talk about the Tide. So Donnie is a fan of the Alabama Crimson Tide, for those not aware. I have on at least 3 or 4 occasions this year texted my family to say I hate this team. They do such dumb things sometimes. They will look like absolute world beaters at times and complete garbage at others, often in the same game. The playoff game against Oklahoma was much the same. Happy to win, but at the end of the day, both teams were flawed teams that should not be in any conversation for a national championship. I was fine with the playoff as it was. We did not need to expand it. I believe my friend Brandon would have some thoughts on the playoff as it relates to his beloved Longhorns at Texas. You know, OU and Texas A&M both losing this week in the playoff was not the worst thing for a Longhorn fan like Brandon to see. Donnie also sent in his grievances. I'll save that. We'll do grievances here in a minute. Let me transition to our picks for week 17. Only 2 weeks left, folks. So we'll do our picks here. We'll air some grievances, and then we'll watch a little Seinfeld. So, excuse me. So we'll start on Christmas Day. Jason Hatcher. Boy, this Christmas Day triple header looked a lot better. Couple, even a month ago, maybe a little longer than that. But we'll start with Jason Hatcher presents Cowboys at Commanders. The Commanders. I should point out all 3 home teams on Christmas Day are underdogs. Commanders are plus 6.5. Let me look at it this way here. I am going with Brandon and I are head to head here. I'm going Commanders plus 6.5. He's going with Cowboys minus 6.5. Brandon does say he forgot to send his grievances, but you can aim all of them at the defensive staff. I'm assuming he means the defensive staff for his beloved Cowboys. Let me pull up my spreadsheet here. Okay, so Cowboys at Commanders. I'm going Commanders plus 6.5. I have Commanders. Oh wait. So Brandon, I might have missed. Oh, I think I messed it up here. Okay, I apologize. Brandon and I both are going Commanders plus 6.5. But in the confidence pick, I have Commanders at a 4. Brandon has Cowboys at 2. Yes. Yeah, Brandon, I just mistranslated when I transferred it, so I apologize. So, Brandon, just confirm for me that you have Commanders plus 6.5. You pick Cowboys. I'm talking to him through the chat now, but we'll get that. Okay. So yeah, I think we're on the same page here. So we both have Commanders plus 6.5. I have Commanders to win and the confidence at a 4. Brandon has Cowboys to win at a 2. All right, up next, Lions at Vikings. The Vikings home underdogs here plus 5.5. I am taking the 5.5 with the Vikings. Brandon is laying the 5.5 with the Lions. We are both on the Lions for the confidence pick. I am at a 9. Brandon is at a 7. And then the nightcap, Broncos at Chiefs. I tell you what, if I had told you at the beginning of the year that this game was going to be a 12.5 point spread and asked you who the underdog would be, I doubt you would have said the Chiefs, but here we are. Chiefs plus 12.5. I apologize. I don't remember the guy's name who's starting at quarterback. Chris is the first name, but I don't remember the last name. But this might be a long night for Chiefs Kingdom here. Uh, uh, Brandon and I are both on Broncos minus 12.5. We both have the Broncos in the confidence. I have them at a 16. Brandon has them at a 14. Okay, Saturday should be a little better game here. Texans at Chargers. Chargers laying 2.5. Brandon and I are head to head here. I'm going Chargers minus 2.5. Brandon's going Texans plus 2.5. And we're head to head in the confidence too. Excuse me. I have Chargers at a 7. Brandon has Texans at a 10. So be a big swing there. Saturday night, Packers get another Saturday night game here, 2 weeks in a row. They host the Ravens. It's Packers minus 2.5. Brandon and I are both on the Packers minus 2.5. I got the Packers at a 5. Brandon has the Packers at a 13. Whoa. Yeah, it's we should mention the Ravens might be without Lamar, or it looks like they might be without Lamar this week. So, although the Packers may be without Jordan Love, and Malik Willis has a shoulder thing too. So, be interesting to see how this one turns out. All right, moving on to Sunday. My Saints are going to be in Tennessee, in Nashville. Titans are getting 2.5 points. Brandon and I both are taking the 2.5 with the Titans. For the second week in a row, boys and girls, I'm going to take the Saints in the confidence, but only at a 2. Brandon has taken the Titans at a 4. So I'm interested to see how the Saints respond here. On the road, favorite. You're coming off 2 home wins in a row. Feeling pretty good about yourself. Titans are coming off a win against the Chiefs. Interested to see what happens here. All right, another game here. Oh, I forgot to go over the playoff clinching scenarios. I'll do that after we do the picks. But Steelers at Browns. Browns are getting 3.5 points. Steelers win, and they clinch the AFC North here. Brandon and I are both on Steelers minus 3.5. I've got Steelers at an 8, and Brandon also has Steelers at an 8. Up next, Jaguars at Colts. Colts are the home underdogs, plus 6.5. Brandon and I are both on the official AFC South team of this podcast, as Brandon stated in the chat here. The Jaguars, so we're both laying the 6.5 of the Jaguars. I have the Jaguars at an 11. Brandon has the Jaguars at a 12. Up next, Battle of Florida here. Tampa Bay at Miami. Bucks at Dolphins. Dolphins are getting 5.5. The Bucks, Brandon and I are both laying the points with the Bucks. I have the Bucks at a 12. Brandon has the Bucks at 11. Wait, is that right? Yeah. Yeah, bad sign for the Steelers if we both that's a tricky one for the Steelers. Also, we should mention Myles Garrett ever really close to the sack record too. So it would be ironic if he broke it sacking Aaron Rodgers, but something to keep an eye on. Okay, where am I? Patriots at Jets. The Jets are getting 13.5 points. Brandon and I are both laying the 13.5 with the Patriots. I've got a Patriots at a 13. Brandon has the Patriots at a 15 with confidence. Sneaky good game here, potentially. Seahawks at Panthers. The Panthers are home dogs, plus 7.5. Brandon and I are both taking the points with the Panthers. I am taking the Seahawks in the confidence. I'm taking the Seahawks at a 1. Brandon is taking the Seahawks at a 9. I'm not messing with the formula with our good friend Trang. So I'm taking the points against the Seahawks, but taking them to win at a 1. I haven't mentioned who's presenting these games. Oh, well, we'll do it next week. Not worried about it. Cardinals at Bengals. Bengals laying 7.5. Brandon and I are both taking the Cardinals with the points plus 7.5, but we're both on the Bengals in the confidence. I have Bengals at a 10. Brandon has Bengals at a 6. Uh, late afternoon window. There's only 2 games on the Sunday late afternoon window, and they are on opposite ends of the spectrum, I would say. You got Giants at Raiders, a battle for the first pick, literally. They should have, if they weren't cowards, they would put this in prime time. I'm going to be honest. The Raiders are laying a 1.5. Brandon and I are both on the Giants, plus 1.5 points. I've got the Giants at a 3. Brandon's got the Giants at a 5. And then the other end of the spectrum here, Eagles at Bills. The Bills are laying a 1.5. Brandon and I are both on the Eagles plus 1.5. I have the Eagles to win at a 6 in the confidence. Brandon has the Eagles to win at a 3. Sunday night, this is a big game. Bears at 49ers. This could end up being maybe for a 2 seed. If you're the Bears, for the 49ers, you've got an outside chance of winning the NFC West. Bears at 49ers. 49ers are home favorites, laying 2.5. We're head to head, Brandon and I. I've got 49ers minus 2.5. He's got the Bears plus 2.5. I've got the 49ers to win at a confidence of 14. Brandon's got the Bears to win, but only at a confidence of 1. And certainly not last but not least, Rams at Falcons on Monday night. Falcons home underdogs here, plus 7.5. I am going to take the 7.5 with the Falcons. Brandon is laying the 7.5 with the Rams. We are both on the Rams for the confidence. I am at a 15. Brandon is at a 16. Yeah. So apologies. I forgot to say who was presenting those games. We can do that next week when we recap. Okay. Let us go to putting the bad in battle. Yeah. Let us go to what am I doing? Oh, I gotta find my. We're gonna do our upset and lock, and then we'll air some grievances here.
This is not good. Worlds are colliding. George is getting upset.
All right, George is getting upset here. So on last week, wrong tab here. Last week I had Jaguars over Broncos, so I hit that one. Brandon had Cardinals over Falcons, so he did not get that one. For this week, so for the season, actually, let me look at this. Where am I at here? Get it together, Paul. Here. Okay, so for the season, Brandon and I are both 7-9 on the season. This week in our upsets, I am going with the Eagles over the Bills. Brandon is going with the Texans over the Chargers. So there's our upset picks, and then let's move on to our lock.
Jerry, it's a lock. Kramer, you've had this thing under control for almost 3 years now.
All right, so last week on our locks, I had Lions over Steelers. That did not work. Brandon had 49ers over Colts, which did work. So for the season, I am 13-3. Brandon is 14-2 in his locks. Hey, we're doing pretty good there. But for this week, for the locks, I'm going to go Jaguars over Colts. It worked last week with the Jags over the Broncos. So why? Well, that was for an upset, but this is for a lock. I'm going Jags over Colts. Brandon, for his lock, is going to the Monday night game. Rams over Falcons. All right. So Brandon kind of mentioned his grievances. Do we have a clip here? Let me see if we have a clip. Nope, I don't think we do. That's okay. Not a big deal. All right. So Brandon mentioned his grievances about the Cowboys defense, their defensive staff. I'm gonna air a non-football grievance. This happened to me today. So we've been in Louisiana last couple of days visiting my mom, my sister, doing Christmas festivities with them, and then we drove back today. So apologies, I don't know, I might have caught a cold or something while I was there, but we're driving back, and for those that have driven in Houston in the somewhat uh, recent past, if you're driving I-10 west, at one point I-10 meets up with Interstate 45, which goes north and south. So today, because it is still a Tuesday, people are still working. We get into downtown right around 4 o'clock, so there's traffic. But what I hate, what I cannot stand, so when I-10 meets I-45, it turns into a 4 lane. So there's 2 lanes that you can get onto I-45. There's 2 lanes that you can keep going, and you stay on I-10 basically. People will go, so the traffic's backed up in the left 2 lanes, and what people will do is they'll take that inner right lane and just ride it all the way up until they've got to make a decision to either veer off to get on 45, or they just merge left and get in with with everybody else waiting in traffic. And I cannot stand it. I know it's a small thing, but like it's just I don't know. It's like we're living in a society. Uh, but anyway, so that's it's a small grievance, but just a grievance nonetheless. Let me read Donnie's grievance, and I'm gonna have to take a slight break. I gotta get my computer is about to die, so I gotta get a charger here. But let me get Donnie's grievances in here. All right, Donnie's got 7 grievances. Here we go. Number 1, college football playoff. We don't need 12 teams. 4 was fine. Please keep G5 teams out. Straightforward. Number 2, my coworker Brad. Oh, shout out to Brad. He constantly calls in sick, leaving me to cover most of our work. When he is in, he is bad at his job. He doesn't understand technology and can't do the most basic things with a computer. Brad catching a stray on this show. Number 3, the quote unquote streaming model. Can we admit that streaming sucks? In the past, I could just easily flip the channel between things. For example, on Thursday nights, if the Nuggets are on, I have to exit the DirecTV stream app, go to Prime to check the football game, then do the whole process over to get to the Nuggets game. This takes way longer. And also, just trying to find the game is such a pain. Is it on ESPN, Netflix, Prime, Peacock? What are we doing? By the way, just a quick sidebar. Shout out to Ryan from uh, Saints Block Party podcast. He's at that boy Wolf on X. He this is when that announcement that Paramount or that Netflix was going to buy Paramount. He had a tweet from a while back that he retweeted, said eventually there's just going to be this app called Cable. We're just all, that's how we're going to watch everything. But yeah, so number 4 here from Donnie. The people in charge of college football, whether it was conference expansion of the playoff, or anything to do with NIL or the transfer portal, nothing has been done with fans in mind. Everything has been done to maximize profit at the cost of a regional sport. Rivalries have been ruined or given up on. Classic uniforms have been ruined. Stadiums expanded with luxury suites and more expensive tickets. Glad they are making so much TV money at the sacrifice of literally everything else we talk about, or everything else, we like about the sport. Number 5, the people who run the NFL. Same grievance. We have NFL games, it seems like every night of the week. Glad they are making money, but damn. Number 6, Paul the Saints fan for forgetting to read my emails last week. Oh, sorry, Donnie. I made up for it this week. And then finally, Andy the Bears fan for trying to roll me up and steal my heat. Hoof. You got to be a fan of the Laps Fan Wrestling Podcast to get that, or have some kind of wrestling knowledge. But yeah, Andy and Donnie, I'm still putting the call out. If the Bears and Broncos make the Super Bowl, we need Andy and Donnie to come on the show that week and they can air their grievances to each other, as it were. All right, speaking of grievances, I'm going to take a quick break. Let me go get a charger real quick, make sure my computer stays charged. And when I come back, we're going to get set up for our watch along here. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Oh, Donnie made it. Another Festivus miracle. All right. We are going to, if you're just joining us, we're going to do a watch along here of the Seinfeld episode, season 9, episode 10. It's called The Strike. It's more appropriately called The Festivus, or, well, it's referred to as the Festivus episode. But let me give me a second here. I'm going to pull it up on my end. While I'm doing that, so I am watching this on Netflix. Obviously, you can, if you have your DVDs or you have, you know, whatever means you have to watch it. We welcome you to watch along with us here. I'm going to count us down here in a minute once I get to the right spot here. Actually, give me 1 second. And I got the sweatshirt, got the sweater ready. So this episode, it's about 22 minutes. I don't I don't think I have ads on Netflix, but I guess we'll find out here in a minute. But if I do, I'll let you know in case you're watching along in a ad-free environment. But all right, so I'm gonna hit play here. I'm gonna do a countdown: 3, 2, 1, play. When I say play, you hit play. So here we go: 3, 2, 1, play. Oh, hang on. False start here. Apparently, when I watched it last year, I did not watch it all the way to the end, so I started at the end there. So just give me a second to rewind, and we'll, uh, we'll do a do over here. So apologies there. All right, I am at zero. I'm at 0, 0, 0, 0. So 3, 2, 1, play. All right, we're beginning the episode here. Tim Watley's throwing a little get together here, a little shindig. The great Bryan Cranston, of course, the future Heisenberg, Breaking Bad fame. Actually, he had a funny story in season 6. He had to do a scene with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Bryan Cranston, that is, and they had to kiss. And in real life, Julia had a cold, and Cranston's would go around saying how him having he had to kiss. He got sick because of kissing Julia Louis-Dreyfus. So anyway, Elaine's just spotted denim vest. And Jerry's not giving her any backup here. He's smoothing it. Jerry's now going to meet his young lady of the week. Nice little callback there where Jerry says, I wouldn't know it. You wouldn't tell by looking at me, but I can run really fast. It's a callback to the race in season 6. Now Elaine has offered Denim Vest her phone number. And now we're getting into the episode proper. George and Jerry just George skipping work because he works for Kruger Industrial Smoothing. We don't care, and it shows. I mentioned our friends over at This Podcast Making Me Thirsty. They just released an episode where they break down the strike. So after you're done doing a watch along, go check them out. They do a 2 up and 2 down episode on it. Check that out on their YouTube channel. I was looking because they did interview, and we're actually getting into the festivus part of this. George is opening his mail. He's got a card from his father. Elaine has just commandeered it. Now we're getting a little bit of insight here. The aluminum pole is being discussed. George is going to work. Hope Jerry's happy. Now Jerry's going to get Jerry arrives back at home and Kramer's hanging out, reading his VCR manual. Now Elaine's going to start her storyline where she has given her fake number to Denim Vest on the back of her atomic sub card. And she's been saving up for a free sub. So there's going to be a pretty cool connection here in Elaine's storyline. There's an actor who gets involved to I was surprised to learn who it was once I did. Now Kramer's explaining that they didn't clone sheep; it was the same sheep. Kramer's getting a phone call here. See what we got. Oh, good news for the K man here. Strike's been settled. He's going back to work. I always loved that Kramer had a business card from working at H&H Bagels. And Kramer's demands $5.35 an hour. That's what they're paying now. So there we go. Kramer off to. If anybody out there is listening to this, watching this, and it's your first episode of Seinfeld, pretty good episode to start out on. But Kramer, throughout the series, has been known as somebody who just kind of makes it by. So Kramer's back at H&H now. Kramer's going to look at the new raisin bagels. Never thought he'd live to see that. Now we're at the horse track betting. So here's an interesting thing here. So this guy talking to Elaine right now, this is actor Tracy Letts, who is married to the wonderful Carrie Coon, who you might know Carrie Coon from The Leftovers. She's also in The Gilded Age. She's also Proxima Midnight in the Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. Wonderful actress. But Tracy Letts is a very good actor in his own right. He was in House of Dynamite, which came out this year, the Catherine Bigelow movie. He also has written. I mentioned a movie I watched about a month ago called Killer Joe. Tracy Letts wrote that movie, starring Matthew McConaughey. And now Elaine is giving out another fake number, and she pulls out Kramer's business card. And he also putting a sawbuck on Captain Nemo in the third at Belmont. So we'll see how that plays out. Jerry's at a restaurant here. Tim Watley and his lady of the evening here. And now Jerry's girl shows up, and Gwen. Something's amiss. Something's missing. And Watley gives him a little, I don't know about that. Now he's talking about it with George. And they come up with the idea of the Two-Face. Like the Batman villain, if that helps you. This is an underrated little bit here. Now, George is telling Jerry about his plan to give the Human Fund cards to his fellow employees at Kruger. I used to have some Human Fund cards. I had a Festivus kit that I got a couple of years ago and came with Human Fund cards. Now here's Kramer. He's back from his first day at H&H. He's got some free bagels. But he's about to tell the boys that these are day olds. Homeless won't even touch them. They dig. They test. Now Kramer's starting to find out what is Festivus. So I've always contested that this episode should be called the Festivus, but the strike does play a big kind of a role into this because Kramer is now going to get involved with Festivus, which is going to lead to him eventually in trouble at H&H here in a minute. So we'll see how that plays out. Elaine still wants that atomic sub. Jerry's questioning if there's a captain's hat involved in all this. Back in H&H now. Here we go. The wonderful late great Jerry Stiller is explaining the tradition of Festivus. Many Christmases ago, we went to buy a doll for his son, reached for the last one they had. So did another man. He rained blows upon him and realized there had to be another way. The doll was destroyed, but Festivus for the rest of us. There it is. Must have been some kind of doll. She was. Cut to Kruger. George is going to be passing out his human fun cards. A little bit of a goof there. So George says he loved those cigars, but as we learned in season 7, he doesn't smoke. He doesn't like smoking. He gives one to Mr. Kruger. Now Frank's explaining the Festivus dinner, talking about the airing of grievances, the poll. Tinsel is distracting if you think about it. Festivus is back. Frank's going to get the pole out of the crawl space. So Frank runs into Elaine. Obviously, they have a contentious relationship throughout the series. And now here comes the strike part again because Kramer's going to ask for Festivus off. And it's a walkout. Also, I will mention this podcast is making me thirsty. They do have an interview with Dan O'Keefe, who is the writer or one of the writers of this episode, who for him, Festivus was a real thing. So he actually kind of came up with this idea here. So I would highly recommend you check that out. Again, shout out to our guys over at this podcast is making me thirsty. Hopefully we can have them on the show again pretty soon. Now Jerry and George are back at Monk's. They're talking about the Two-Face nature of everything. Jerry's saying there's only one booth that she looked good in all the time. So Jerry's storyline a little bit lacking here, but this is definitely season 9 zany. Here we go. Here comes Frank and Kramer. Pole in hand. Festivus is your heritage, George. And Frank's got the cassette tape here. Another glimpse into George's childhood here. Time for the Festivus feats of strength. And George storms out. Now here comes Gwen. She's going to meet Kramer and Frank. Kramer gives a little... And now Jerry's going to escort Gwen to the back booth. And now this is a good-looking booth. So there you go. Back to H&H. Kramer protesting. The owner of H&H saying he'll make a sandwich for Elaine since she wants a sandwich so bad. Elaine's answering the phone, and it's Kramer. Said he sabotaged the bagel machine. Something's going to happen. So let's see what happens there. And the steam valve breaks. But alas, the bagels can still be made, just a little steamy. So Kramer's plan did not go as he'd hoped. Now Mr. Kruger here needs a charity to throw the company's money at, and the Human Fund is just the candidate. So he hands George a check for $20,000. I'm sure George will handle this gracefully. Here's a great bit. He locks himself out of his office, and he decides to go home. So there you go. Gwen's a little frustrated now back at the coffee shop here. George comes in. Gwen goes out. Didn't touch her soup. Apparently there was something in it. Oh, yep, there it is. Rubber band. Paco. Now George is explaining to Jerry that he about his Kruger's charitable donation that George was going to be not so charitable with. I mean, George did technically run the foundation after Susan died. That's kind of a philanthropic endeavor, I guess. Here we go. No bagel, no bagel, no bagel. Elaine comes out. Yamahama, it's Fright Night. Elaine's come out of the steam bath that was H&H Bagels. She's set up a meeting with Denim Vest. Surely her appearance won't play any factor into what's about to happen. Kramer wants him to win. Jerry's girl, but he doesn't recognize her because she's Two-Face. Funny little Kramer line coming up here. Gwen realizes that Jerry must be seeing somebody else on the side. Kramer, oh, he's a tomcat. Very Kramer line. Lane runs into Denim Vest looking schwitzed. And Denim Vest obviously had other ideas for this encounter, and I don't think it's gonna happen. So we'll see. I'm trying to remember who plays. He gives him a Yamahama. And now Denim Vest has given Elaine a fake number. So now Kruger is getting a notice from accounting that the Human Fund is not real. So it's going to put George in a tight spot here. Denim Vest is played by Kevin McDonald. Let's see what else Kevin McDonald was in. Kids in the Hall, Galaxy Quest. Comedic actor. Mr. Kruger, played by Donald Van Bargen. Been 10 years since he passed, so rest in peace to him. I remember seeing him in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? He's the sheriff in that. Daniel Van Bargen, excuse me. I may have said Donald Van Bargen. Daniel Van Bargen. And here we go. Festivus dinner. Mr. Kruger's here. He's going to see it. Frank's going to show Kruger the pole. We get another Yamahama as Elaine shows up here. Jerry sees right through George. What's going on here? Very high strength to weight ratio with aluminum pole. And now here comes Kramer with Tracy Letts and his buddy from the track. It's a Festivus miracle. And here's the lovely Estelle Harris as Mrs. Costanza. Little callback here to the Slicer episode as Mr. Kruger recognizes Kramer as Dr. Van Nostrum. Here we go. The airing of grievances. Got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about. You couldn't smooth a silk sheet with a hot date with a babe. Now I've heard rumors that Jerry Stiller would forget his lines legitimately, and that's why he kind of had that halted cadence of speaking, because sometimes he's really just looking for his lines. So I don't know if that was written in that way or he just a happy accident. And now Gwen has come upon the party, and she's leaving. Jerry's going after her, and bad lighting on the porch. So enough of that. Lane finds out his horse, Nemo, had to be shot. Now we're going to do feats of strength. Kramer gets the honors, but Kramer's working a double shift at H&H. Kramer bails. Who's going to do the feats of strength? Mr. Kruger says, what about George? Until he pins Frank, Festivus is not over. Here we go. And we pan out. Best Festivus ever. And now we're back at H&H Bagel. We're going to land down here. Kramer's rolling some dough. He's got some gum in his mouth and rolls into the dough. Kramer can't find it. Here comes his boss, sees what he's doing, and he just gets fired. Thank you. Takes off the apron, and that's it. So that will conclude our watch along here of season 9, episode 10 of The Strike, Seinfeld. The episode after this is The Dealership. That's a pretty good episode too. It stars featuring David Puddy, kind of a fishbowl episode. They're kind of one location. But we appreciate you all hanging out with us. Again, Brandon will be back next week. We will do our preview of the last week of the NFL season. So we'll recap week 17, talk about week 18. It's very possible by the time we see you guys next week that all the playoff spots will be taken up in the NFL. Might still be some seeding that needs to be figured out, but it's possible we at least have all the spots taken up. Oh, by the way, I'm glad I thought of that. Let me go through. Let me pull this back up here. Let me go through our clinching scenarios, as it were. Just give me 1 second. I was so excited to get to our watch along that I forgot about this. Let me get to. Okay, so here's some clinching scenarios. We'll start in the NFC. The Seahawks. Shout out to our good friend Trank. So the Seahawks can clinch the NFC West if they beat the Panthers, and then they'll need a Rams loss to the Falcons and a 49ers loss to the Bears. If in addition, or well, I should say, so if a Seattle win, Rams loss, 49ers loss, Seattle clinches the NFC West. If the Seahawks win, the Rams lose, and the Bears and 49ers tie, Seattle will clinch the 1 seed in the NFC. So that was a little more unlikely, but just want to throw it out there. The Bears, so again, we talked about that Bears 49ers game being a big game. If the Bears win, Bears beat the 49ers, they clinch the NFC North. Done. No questions asked. Or if the Packers lose to the Ravens on Saturday. So the Bears could be going into that Sunday night game knowing they're the NFC North champions. It's possible. In the NFC South, the Panthers can clinch that division if they beat the Seahawks and Tampa Bay loses to the Dolphins. So very crucial here. Both of those things have to happen. So if Tampa Bay just loses to the Dolphins, that does not clinch anything for the Panthers. So those two things have to happen in concert. The Packers can clinch a playoff spot if they beat the Ravens or if the Lions lose to the Vikings on Christmas. So again, the Packers could go into that Saturday night game having watched the Lions play on Christmas. If the Lions have lost to the Vikings, Packers have already clinched a playoff spot. So that means, so that's 1, 2, 3. So again, in the NFC, Seattle has clinched a playoff spot. The Rams, the 49ers, they've all clinched playoff spots. The Bears have clinched a playoff spot. That's 4. We could this week get also the Packers to clinch a playoff spot. So that would be 5. We could get the NFC South to be decided. That would be the 6th playoff spot. And the Eagles have already clinched a playoff spot. So there's your 7. So all 7 teams in the NFC could be decided this week. Move to the AFC. Broncos clinch a first round bye. Pretty straightforward. They have to win, so they have to beat the Chiefs on Christmas. Then they have to hope for a loss from the Patriots, the Chargers, the Jaguars, and the Bills. So Patriots are against the Jets. Chargers are against the Texans on Saturday. The Jags are playing the Colts, and the Bills are against the Eagles. So if all that happens, the Broncos will clinch the 1 seed in the AFC. If the Broncos win and the Chargers lose to the Texans, so again, the Broncos will play on Christmas night, the Chargers will play on Saturday. So if the Broncos have that win in hand, they're going to settle down, watch Saturday night, hoping for the Texans to beat the Chargers. If that happens, just that will clinch the AFC West for the Broncos. The Patriots already clinched a playoff spot, but they can clinch the AFC East if they beat the Jets and the Bills lose to the Eagles, which is, again, not crazy. Could happen. The Jaguars could clinch the AFC South if they beat the Colts and the Texans lose to the Chargers. Again, not outside the realm of possibility. So, again, Texans play on Saturday. So if they lose to the Chargers, the Jaguars know going into Sunday's game against the Colts that they just got to win and they clinch the AFC South. For the AFC North, pretty simple. Steelers win or Ravens lose, the Steelers are your AFC North champions. So Steelers beat the Browns or the Ravens lose to the Packers, and that would clinch the AFC North for the Steelers. And finally, the Texans can clinch a playoff spot if they beat the Chargers or if Indianapolis loses. So this is kind of interesting. So the Texans can lose to the Chargers on Saturday. Then the Colts losing to the Jaguars on Sunday would clinch the AFC South for the Jaguars, but it would also clinch a playoff spot for the Texans. So again, in the AFC, we have Denver, the Patriots, the Bills, the Chargers. They feel like I'm missing. Oh, and the Jaguars. Those 5 teams have clinched a playoff spot. So we could have the Texans clinch a playoff spot this week, and the Steelers clinch the North, which clinch a playoff spot. So we could have all 7. So again, possible we get all 7 AFC teams straightened out this week. Conversely, some elimination scenarios here. Detroit loses to the Vikings, they are out of the playoffs. So that Christmas Day game, pretty big for the Lions. I think that's probably why Brandon and I both went Lions in that one. Tampa can be eliminated from the playoffs and from the NFC South, obviously, with a loss and a Carolina win. Green Bay can be knocked out of the NFC North title contention, not the playoffs, just the NFC North, if they lose to the Ravens or the Bears beat the 49ers. The Rams can be knocked out of the division title and the 1 seed with a loss to the Falcons. There's a couple other, well, actually, a loss to the Falcons or Seattle and San Francisco both win. So if Seattle beats Carolina, San Francisco beats Chicago, if both of those things happen, the Rams cannot get the 1 seed. And conversely, could not get the NFC West. So the Rams need to win. They need to beat the Falcons. Well, but that'll be the last game of the week, obviously. That'll be Monday night. But they need to hope that either Seattle or San Francisco loses on Sunday in order to keep that NFC West title chance alive. The 49ers can be knocked out of the 1 seed contention. Or actually, let me put it this way. Whoever loses the Bears-49ers game is out of the 1 seed in the NFC. The 49ers can additionally be knocked out of the NFC West title if they lose the Chicago and Seattle beats Carolina. AFC. So 2 teams facing elimination here. Baltimore, they lose to Green Bay, they're done. Indianapolis loses to Jacksonville, they're done. So I do think, I didn't mention this previously. We talked about Phillip Rivers and kind of his how he's playing these last 2 weeks. I do feel like Indianapolis is going to upset the apple cart at some point in the next 2 weeks. They have Jacksonville this week. They have Houston the following week. So I just feel like they're going to do something that makes no sense, basically. They do have an outside chance of making the playoffs. I think they have to win out and hope that either Houston or Jacksonville. Well, I think it's Houston at this point. Houston would have to lose out. Because Houston wins this week and they're in. So that would, and Indianapolis plays. That's what it is. Indianapolis plays Houston next week, so they could end up being for a playoff spot potentially. And then finally, there's quite a few scenarios here with Buffalo, who's already clinched a playoff spot, but if they lose and the Patriots win this week, Patriots are the AFC East champs. Buffalo knocked out of that. That scenario that I just mentioned, Buffalo loses to Philadelphia, the Patriots beat the Jets, would knock Buffalo out of the 1 seed. So if Buffalo loses and one of the following teams win, the Patriots, the Broncos, the Chargers, or the Jaguars, if any of those 4 teams win in combination with the Buffalo loss, Buffalo cannot get the 1 seed in the AFC, which they probably won't anyway, but officially won't happen. A Houston loss in combination with the Jacksonville win would eliminate Houston from the AFC South. So if you're Houston, you've got to take care of business against the Chargers on Saturday, and then you've got to hope, you got to root for Phillip Rivers to beat Jacksonville on Sunday. And then also a Houston loss. Houston can get knocked out of the 1 seed. They don't have to lose. If Denver or New England wins, that knocks Houston out of the 1 seed. The Chargers will get knocked out of the AFC West. If they lose and Denver wins, that'll also knock them. Chargers are kind of in a similar situation to Buffalo, also with the 1 seed. if they lose and Denver or New England or both Jacksonville and Buffalo win, then they will be eliminated from the 1 seed. The Patriots will be knocked out of 1 seed contention with a loss and a Denver win. Jacksonville will be knocked out of 1 seed contention with a loss and a win by either the Broncos, the Patriots, or the Chargers. So I think we've covered it all. So like I said, the big takeaway here is by the time Brandon and I reconvene next week, we could have all the teams settled for the playoffs. Excuse me. All the teams could be settled for the playoffs. Maybe just some seeding configurations need to be figured out, but we'll see what happens. Also, we'll be picking, like I said, we'll pick the semifinals, college football playoff. We know what the games are now. We've got Alabama, Donnie's Crimson Tide facing Indiana. We've got Miami taking on Ohio State. Actually, let me pull that up. We've got Ole Miss against Georgia, and we've got Oregon and Texas Tech. Oregon, Texas Tech is one that I am looking forward to. That's it. That's one I really want to see. It should be a fun game. I don't think it'll be as low scoring as Miami and Texas A&M was this past week. And that game, Oregon Texas Tech is at the Orange Bowl. Alabama Indiana will be at the Rose Bowl. Ole Miss and Georgia at the Sugar Bowl. That feels right. That feels appropriate. And then Miami Ohio State at the Cotton Bowl there in Jerry's World. So looking forward to all that next week. Hey, if you are, in the spirit, so to speak, I think there's a bowl game every day for like the next week or week and a half or so. Or if not, there's an NFL game. So enjoy that. We hope everybody's has a happy Festivus. Hope your grievances have been aired, your feats have been strong, and your poles tinsel free. So thank you for joining us this week. Thank you for putting up with me this week. Brandon will be back next week. Really appreciate everybody. Hope everybody's having a good holiday season, whatever you celebrate. If it's Festivus, if it's Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is, however you celebrate, we hope you're doing it safely and with your families. We appreciate everybody following along with us. Like I said, be back next week. We'll have more football to talk about, getting ready for the new year. Maybe we'll talk about some New Year's resolutions. Who knows? But until then, happy football, everybody.